Thank you, Governor Beshear. Good afternoon, everyone. James, you would go to my slides, please. So I'm going to talk first about Omicron and then just augment a little bit of what the governor said. So Omicron was the very first person known to have this was found in San Diego, I think it was, on December 1st. It was a person who returned from travel from South Africa. They had mild illness and they apparently are recovering well. And they were very intensively contact traced so that they were able to isolate that individual and people they were exposed to. That does not appear to have been a source of spread from that individual. Just before I got up here, apparently the news is reporting now in Minnesota, they may have found a traveler who had it. They only traveled domestically, as I understand, were fully vaccinated, but had not yet been boosted. And I'll come back to that because I think the governor's message is really important to emphasize on boosters. The state of Kentucky has not yet seen a case. We have sentinel surveillance processes in place where laboratories who have the capacity to notice an abnormal pattern on the PCR tests will sample. We also have a proportion of samples that are tested in commercial labs throughout the state. And importantly, the nation only used to have the ability to sequence about 8,000 samples a week, and apparently can now sample as many as 80,000 samples a week. And so they've expanded this capacity nationwide very aggressively over the last year. So it is here. It will become present in communities all over the United States. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the question is, what is the impact and what do we do about it? The governor released a 2-minute video on Monday, and I think his message is spot on. It is important to be careful and concerned. It is not a time to panic. We have much better tools now than we did when this pandemic started last year, but we should be careful and concerned because our future is not outside our control, and the way we choose to act and behave in response to this current problem will help to determine very clearly what the future looks like. So with Omicron, it has, one of the reasons it was so concerning so quickly is that it has 50 or more different variations or mutations in its genetic code. 30 or more of those directly affect the spike protein. And that's the part, I know you've all seen this for too many times now over the last almost 2 years. That's like a tennis ball on the end of a stick. And that ball part is what attaches to our cells and gets the virus into our cells to cause the problems. When we either are previously infected and develop antibodies that way, or we get vaccinated and develop antibodies, those antibodies attach to that ball on the end of the stick and prevent it from entering our cells to reduce either getting infected in the first place and definitely to reduce the severity of the illness if we do get infected. The concern here is that with so many different mutations is will this impair somehow the protective value of either vaccinated immunity or natural immunity? And we don't know yet. Time will tell if that's the case. The vaccine manufacturers, should the need arise, are able to adapt those mRNA vaccines relatively quickly. So it'll happen even faster than it did before if it's necessary. But right now, we know that the vaccine still is incredibly effective. And if you get boosted, really incredibly effective, it puts you back up at that over 90% protection. And 99.9% of all the virus we're finding in the United States right now is still Delta variant. And we know the vaccines still work for that, and the boosters make them incredibly effective like they used to be. So it's really important. The single most important thing all of us can do right now is, if we're not vaccinated, is hopefully make that choice to get vaccinated. And if you're eligible for a booster, that's anyone 18 or older, 6 months after a Pfizer or Moderna, or 2 months after a first J&J, please go get that booster. It'll keep you safe and help minimize the spread of this virus. The other concerns about the Omicron, there's other mutations in the genetic code, the 20 or more others. We don't know, will it make the virus more transmissible? Will it spread more easily between people? We don't know if it'll make the disease more severe. Will people get more ill and suffer worse consequences? So far, the history is reported that most of the people who've had this have relatively typical illness for COVID, and it has not yet appeared more severe, but it'll take time to see that as well as the transmission. And then the final thing is, That immune impact, where it can undermine the protective value of antibodies, could also have impact on the monoclonal antibodies, which essentially are laboratory synthesized antibodies. So it could impact adversely the value of some of those therapeutic interventions we have now. Again, we have got to take all the steps we can to minimize the spread of the virus across the entire world, not just Kentucky, because as long as the virus is spreading rapidly through large numbers of people, it will mutate, and by sheer dumb luck and chance, it gets better over time. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned this already. Vaccination is the single most important thing we can all do, and everyone 5 and older is eligible to get vaccinated now. Please, I hope you'll consider getting vaccinated if you haven't, and if you are eligible for a booster, please go get one. You can go to vaccines.gov, and you can access the same website via the KY COVID-19 website. You can put in a zip code and it'll map within 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 25 miles. You can pick your vaccine type and it will map you directly to places that are close to you. You can click on a link and often you can schedule it online and in the span of 5 to 10 minutes be finished. I did that for my booster and went to a Kroger and it was effortless, and I was in and out of Kroger in 15 minutes to get the shot and be done. So I'd encourage y'all to take advantage of that. If we can move on to the next slide, please. These are the steps. I know I sound like a broken record, but these things work. You've got to get vaccinated, get boosted. We need you to wear your masks if you're in indoor public places. I know none of us are fond of this, and we're not asking you to wear them outdoors. We're not asking you to wear them when you're on with your private family or all fully vaccinated small gatherings. But when you are in public places or you are in any large crowds, you really should wear a mask. And certainly if you're unvaccinated, you should wear a mask because the risk is significant. If you die in Kentucky since July 1st from COVID-19 and you are under 60 years of age, more than 94% chance you're unvaccinated. And that age population is almost entirely a preventable disease through vaccination. Please, if you feel you have symptoms that could be COVID, please get tested. There's more and more abundant opportunities to get testing. Please do that. And the White House and the president are working to make testing covered by private insurers that you could go buy at drugstores, and are going to work real hard to try to make free testing available that you can do in home. We're shifting to a different phase of the virus where it'll be less where you go to a laboratory to get a test and more where you get a lower cost test and take responsibility for yourself and test yourself. And if you are positive, you stay home and take the responsible steps necessary to minimize the spread of disease. And the last point is good advice, even pre-COVID. If you are sick, please stay home. If you have a fever, if you have a bad cold, if you have a sore throat, please stay home until you feel better. We don't need any of these diseases spreading. To the extent we can minimize the spread of any disease, it'll help keep us all safer and help minimize confusion about do other people have COVID or do they just have the common cold. Folks, this has been a long, tiring road. All of us are tired. All of us would like this to be over. As I drive and go about my daily activities, people are out and about and doing things. Society has come back to nearly full activity in almost all domains. The things we're asking folks to do now are much, much more tailored. Get vaccinated, stay home if you're sick, get tested if you think you have COVID, and please still use these masks when you are in particularly high-risk settings, which certainly is indoor spaces around other people who are not in your immediate household. We will get through this. It will be better. It is improved already, and it will get better going forward. But Omicron shows us that the disease is not yet finished with us. And if we take our eye off the ball, all these gains could unfortunately be turn into setbacks if we don't take careful steps. So